If you're watching this video, you're likely concerned about your overall grade, the scores on your quizzes, or maybe your level of understanding. We hope that it's a combination of all three of those things. While quiz grades matter, it's also important that you're learning the material, which in the end should improve your quiz grade. We're taking the extra time to go back through this quiz or quizzes that you've taken to help you understand the concept better. But we also know and feel we've provided many opportunities in various formats, whether that's in class, online, through videos, through the packets, that you should have been able to learn this material. We understand that it's a new way of thinking and taking responsibility for your own learning, so we highly ask that you will reconsider your routines, your patterns, and how you participate in class, how you ask questions, and your level of concentration for completing all the assignments we give you. So to begin this quiz retake practice, we have the first part. It is called relearn. This relearn problem will be what I go through to teach you with this new problem, or reteach you the topics we covered in lesson 1.1. The second portion of this retake practice is called fix. This should look familiar, as it's the quiz that was given in class in paper copy. You should have your quiz back if you took it in class, and we expect you to actually fix your answers. You will write the answers to your quiz or correct your answers to the quiz either in a different color, next to the answers you gave us, make sure we know which answers are changed, or you could do it on the back. But we do expect you to rewrite your answers on your quiz that you already took. Finally, it's a try again section. You haven't seen this problem before, but we ask you to make sure you've watched the video, fixed your previous quiz, and then take a second chance at this handwritten quiz. You will then complete it and turn it into your teacher the next time you see them. So let's go back and get started on the new problem that will help you relearn or solidify the concepts in these quizzes. The first feature we're looking for is the domain. Remember, that's all the values of x that a function can take on. Now, we don't have an equation, but when we look at this piecewise function, we see the x values that it goes between from -4 to +4. That's what we're going to write, and we must use interval notation. So we notice this open circle. Open circles means it actually is all the way up to, but not including -4. So we will start with -4 as our lowest value, but include that parenthesis to indicate it is not including that x value. It goes all the way up to +4, and it does have a filled-in circle there, so we will include that x value of a +4 and indicate that by making a solid bracket there. Now, at this point, we talked about domain of this piecewise function. We're going to ask again that you fix the old quiz that you already took in class, but you'll also find the video is about to pause and you will get a selection of answers to pick from what the domain of this function might be. This paper quiz that you have is the same one you're going to be answering questions on in the Canvas assignment. Please answer the Canvas assignment now and fill in your corrected version of your quiz. Next, we'll use the relearn to relearn the idea of range. This is the values of the y-axis, meaning which y values are included, how high does the function go, and how low does it go. This coordinate right here is at a coordinate of -2, -1. This is the x, this is the y. The value we're concerned with here is the low value of -1. Up here, our highest value is 3. So we would say our range is from -1, and I'm going to use a hard bracket because it actually hits that value, all the way up to a y value of 3, including that hard bracket again because it actually reaches that y value. At this point, the video will again pause, and you'll be asked in your Canvas assignment to answer the range on your quiz. Remember to answer it in Canvas and rewrite your answer correctly on your quiz. For the x-intercepts, that's when y equals 0. But when we have a graph, we can just look at where it crosses the x-axis. It crosses at the 4, at the -1, and at the -3. We would ask that you give these in coordinate form. It's not a span of x values that it's happening over, it's at certain points. So when given a point, please give the xy coordinate. -3, 0, -1, 0, and 4, 0. As the video pauses, please answer the Canvas question about your fix problem and fix your x-intercepts on your actual quiz. The y-intercepts are where the x value is 0, so where it crosses the y-axis. Here we see our spot on the graph is at 1. Again, we would like it in coordinate form. So if your x was 0, your y is 1. Please pause the video, or as it pauses, answer your Canvas question about the y-intercepts on your quiz paper problem, both on Canvas and on your paper. For a graph to be positive, that means the function is above the x-axis. So I'll highlight here when this graph is above the x-axis. It's important to note that when you're on an x-intercept, that y value is 0. Therefore, we're not actually above the x-axis yet. So when we're answering this and we know it's above the x-axis where I've colored, which I also should indicate it is above the x-axis over here, we want to always use our parentheses because at the value of -1, it is not actually above the x-axis. That's why we use the parentheses. And it goes all the way to when x value is 4. Notice how I'm only using the x values of where that interval is positive, or the y values are positive. I do want to include this other chunk back here, so that would be, notice the graph stops here. -4 is where our function ends, and it goes all the way up till -3. So I would say -4 to -3. Again, notice the parentheses because at the x-intercept, the y value is not actually positive yet. A little hint could be any time they're asking for a graph, when it's positive, you will always use parentheses and interval notation. We only talk about the x values also. Please try your fix-it problem on paper and on Canvas for when the graph is positive. If the graph isn't positive, it's negative. So here I'll highlight where the graph is negative. That means when the y values of the function are negative. Remember, we want to use the x values for our interval notation to tell us what x value it starts being negative and when it finishes being negative. So in this case, we would start at our -3 all the way up to -1, and we'll use those soft brackets or soft parentheses to indicate that it's not actually negative there, it'd be at 0. Please try your fix-it problem on Canvas and on your quiz for when the function is negative. A graph is said to be increasing, or a function is said to be increasing when the slope of the graph is positive. So here we see a positive slope of this function. We only care about the x values in which the graph has a positive slope. So this starts sloping positively at -2 all the way up until when x is positive 2. Now, again, it can't be increasing and decreasing there at that point, so we will use the parentheses always when it comes to when a graph is increasing and decreasing. Please try to fix when the function was increasing on the quiz, both on paper and in Canvas. Finally, a function is decreasing when the slope of the graph is negative. Here we see the function decreasing, and we also see it decreasing when it started out. So I'm going to do this first interval first. Again, we use only the x span of numbers, so starting at -4 to the value of -2, it decreases, parentheses because it's not increasing or decreasing at that turnaround point. Then also from the value of 2 to 4. Please try fixing your fix problem both on Canvas and on your paper copy for when the function is decreasing. One last thing to point out. This function happened to end or begin with an open circle and end with a closed circle. Should a function have some sort of arrow as it finishes and maybe an open circle here, remember that can impact your domain or when the function's increasing or decreasing, because, for example, this function would be increasing, let's say this was an x value of 4, it would be increasing from 4 to infinity. We know that infinities always have a parenthesis around them, and we also know that if the arrow tells us it's going on forever, we need to use that infinity. It wouldn't just stop at a given x value here. So if you ever see an arrow, that will definitely impact your domain using infinity or negative infinity, and it can also impact your increasing and decreasing values, as well as your positive and negative too. Now that you've finished this example with me, and you've done all the Canvas paused questions in the video, and you've written your answers on your own quiz and made some changes, we hope you've relearned the topics. This doesn't mean that you couldn't go back and retry the homeworks. We definitely encourage you to get 100% on the homework because you have an infinite amount of practice problems on there, and that should help you refine your skills. This last try again problem is now for you to do on your own. Please do your best, use what you've learned, and hopefully you'll see some improvements and have a better understanding. This copy must be turned into your teacher the next time you see her.